to listen to the resolution which is going to be presented here. So I'm going to invite the next session, which is going to be chaired by Dr. Christopher Onyango, Director of Trade and Customs at COMESA Secretariat. He deserves a good clap. Thank you very much indeed. Then we have the following institutions from COMESA who will come to the stage. We have COMESA Federation of Women in Business representative. Please come on stage. Thank you very much. Then we have Executive Director or the representative for Africa Leather and Leather Products Institute, ALLPI. A round of applause. Then we have African Trade and Investment Development Insurance, ATIDI. A round of applause. Then we have COMESA Reinsurance Company, better known as ZEPRI. A round of applause. Then we have COMESA Competition Commission representative. It's coming up here. So these are the people who are going to drive the conversation. And the conversation is COMESA 30 Years of Impact, Institutional Innovation for Regional Growth, COMESA Institutions. So they're going to give us the story of COMESA institutions after 30 years of growth. If I were you, I would clap for them. Thank you very much. Please take it up.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. I think you've introduced us. I'm Christopher Onyango. I'll be moderating this final session. And I want to promise that I will live up to your expectations. And I've agreed with my panelists that we are not going to sit between them and the sightseeing of Nairobi city. So to be brief, as has been highlighted, COMESA is one of the few regs in the world to have established specialized institutions to support its integration agenda. So for the last 3 decades, these institutions have been the engine driving regional integration, providing critical infrastructure for trade, investments, insurance, and business development. And so this session, to be brief, simply wants to showcase these institutions, how these institutions have evolved over the time, and how they have realized achievements, and of course share with us what their priorities are in the next 10 or so years, even in terms of digital transformation. So I will have one round of questions and answers to the panel just to save on time, reflecting on the successes that they have achieved, as well as sharing some of the strategic focuses or priorities that they vision in the next decade or so. And if time allows, I will ask them to give their parting shots. So without much ado, I will start with the first panelist from my extreme left, just to reflect on the institutions achievements, top 2 achievements over the last 30 years, and also share with us some of the priorities that they have. So those 2 questions. But of course, as you start, you realize you are not introduced fully by the moderator. So could you start by just introducing yourselves and the names of the institutions that you represent, and then go ahead and share with us some of the achievements, top 2 achievements, as well as the priorities that your organization have for deepening COMESA integration agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. My name is Chikakula Miti. I'm the CEO of the COMESA Federation of Women in Business. I wish to recognize the presence of my board chairperson, Madam Maureen Sumbwe, and also the presence of the former SG of COMESA, Mr. Sindiso Ngwenya, as well as Dr. Dave Hammond, the SG of Admin and Finance. I represent an organization that has moved from being an infant institution to being one of the most structured organization under COMESA. Our journey began in 1993 in Zimbabwe, when the heads of state and government, they established this institution, and it was initially part of the gender division of COMESA. Later on, it was established in Malawi in 2009. The COMESA Federation of Women was established with the view that you cannot have meaningful regional integration without the participation of women in business. And there are a lot of indicators and statistics which show that in Africa, in the sub-Saharan Africa, 58% of businesses, they are owned by women. And most of them are at SME level. And these particular businesses, most of the times, they are faced with a number of barriers to access of finance, to markets, to internationalization. And our institution over the years, we have focused on export readiness, and to do this, we have been providing capacity building in terms of business development services to entrepreneurs. And why does this matter? Because, when you look at the statistics that we have, they show that if you address the gender gap, you are able to raise the GDP of countries by more than 20% in globally. But in Africa, they talk about raising GDP by more than 35 to 38%. So there is a lot of, positivity. There's a lot of impact that comes with supporting women-owned businesses. Some of the statistics also indicate that 90% of the money that is generated by women in business is reinvested in the family. So what does that entail? It means that it helps in terms of economic progress, it helps in terms of supporting sustainable development, and as well as enabling communities to be better in the region. So we as COMFWIB, we have been providing product development, supporting entrepreneurs to brand their products, and also as well as incubating new entrepreneurs, so as well as connecting them to markets. We have one of the projects that we can talk about in Eswatini, where we incubated some women in a cooperative, and that particular cooperative is able to produce chickens, and they are supplying Pick and Pay. And what we also did was that we connected them to suppliers of capital. So over the years, one of the most important things that we have been addressing is the setting up of a fund to provide startup capital to our women in business, as well as youth. I wish to to mention here that we have scored a significant milestone in that we working with TDB, we have set up a Young Women's Fund that is going to be able to provide the requisite capital to women and youth in business. It will be on pilot phase, and we'll hope to upscale it going forward. One of the other successes that we have done is that we have scored is that of strengthening our structure. We are in all the 21 member states of COMESA, and we are very active at national level. Our chapters, they are undertaking different activities as well as influencing policy. We have also been able to address issues of market access. We know for sure that one of the major issues or one of the major challenges facing entrepreneurs is the creation of these linkages. So over the years, we have been having trade fairs where we bring on board different entrepreneurs from member states to trade. And we have scored quite a lot of business linkages amongst women and youth in the COMESA region. And also we have facilitated the participation of our members in the inter-Africa trade fairs, as well as other domestic trade fairs that have been convened over the years. As it pertains to our future priorities, we are in the process of setting up a women's bank, and what motivates us is that there are some decisions that have been made by the heads of state that we should have a facility that is going to provide funding to women in business. And so far we have done some studies, and it shows that 79% of our membership have rated access to finance as one of the critical priority to building their businesses. So under this initiative, we are working with ZEPRI. We have done some preliminary work, and also we have engaged some private sector institutions in some of the member states who are interested in partnering with us. And we want this particular facility to be a digital financing mechanism that will be able to provide funding to women in business, and it will build on the successes of the circles that are there in the member states and our chapters. The other thing that, the last point which I wanted to mention is that we are planning to have a state-of-the-art trade center in Malawi, which will also be a center that people will come in, they'll be trained, they'll come there to trade, and already we have identified some partners that are going to work with us to put that particular infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, yes. Thank you, Comfweb. That's very encouraging because you, although young, but aggressively involved in inclusivity of trade promotion, particularly for women. Our next panelist, the same question applies. I'm sure you know that all of us in this room have leather and leather products in some way. Kindly highlight to us what are some of the key achievements you've made and your priorities into the future.
Thank you, Dr. Onyango. My name is Nicholas Mudungwe. I represent Africa Leather Products Institute. Allow me to write on existing protocol. The Africa Leather Products Institute was established to support the development of the leather sector in COMESA, and now we are extending to the rest of Africa. Before I explain or highlight our achievements, I want to share with you a quotation from Mzee Kambarage Nyerere. He said that when others are walking, Africans, we must be running. And he said this more than 50 years ago. And I'm sure if he was alive and would ask him the same question, you would say Africa, we are supposed to sprint because we are lagging far, far behind the rest of the world. And this is happening at a time where Africa has more resources than the rest of the world. For example, Africa is 20% of the global landmass, but it contributes less than 2% to the manufacturing sector. Let me move on to the leather industry. Africa's demand of footwear is more than 2.3 billion, and Africa is producing only 700 million. And this is an opportunity to the business community here. We have a demand that we are not fulfilling. Over 70% of the footwear consumed in Africa is imported. And Africa cannot digitize, cannot do anything if Africa cannot make a basic product like footwear. If Africa continues to import military footwear from the rest of the world, assume Africa goes to war with a country which is supplying it with footwear, our soldiers will walk barefooted. So this is the risk that we are carrying. Or they'll send to us poisoned shoes, and then our soldiers will be affected. So we need to work very hard to produce the footwear. So the question is, what are we doing as the Leather Institute? We have supported member states to design strategies and policies, and one of our major achievements has been establishing centers of production and capacity building. And this is an initiative that started around 2012 during the reign of Secretary General Cindy Songwenya, when he said, as COMESA, we cannot continue to have meetings without supporting the real production. And to this end, we have established over 15 centers. But as I have said, we are still working, but we are supposed to run. We are still behind as Africa. As Africa, we need to put money into the industry. The challenge that we have as Africa is a dilemma. We don't know which policy to follow. The rest of the world is industrialized at the back of an industrial policy. But Africa, we think free market economy works. It has never worked anyway. All countries that have industrialized, they've industrialized at the back of industrial policy. So we need to put money to capitalize SMEs, which we have done with the support of the European Union and the COMESA Secretariat, and also Badia has supported us. The second thing that we have achieved, we have been able to build an ecosystem of enterprises across the COMESA region. Now an enterprise in Uganda can easily order leather from Ethiopia via a phone call or via WhatsApp instead of getting on a plane or via a bus. This is what we have achieved. I'll give you an example. Once DRC was importing finished leather from France at $20 a square foot, but we managed to connect them with Ethiopia. The leather was landing at $3, reducing the cost of making shoes from $80 to $12. So this is tangible achievements that we are making by creating the ecosystem. On the digital side, we have set up design studios which are computer aided, reducing the designing of a pair of shoes from 7 days to less than 2 hours. So these are tangible achievements that we have been able to put in place. And we want to continue to put that. We need more money to buy equipment, to train people, to facilitate intra-trade. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you for that, quick sharing of the achievements that you have made since inception. Now I go to the third panelist. Kindly just introduce yourself and the achievements that you made, highlighting also the priorities you have for the future. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Anyango. My name is Linda Bakira. I represent the African Trade Investment Development Insurance, which is commonly known as ATIDI. As you may know, ATIDI is a proud COMESA creation and institution. We were created over 25 years ago by a number of COMESA countries, namely our host today, the Republic of Kenya, as well as Burundi, Uganda, Rwanda, Malawi, and Zambia. ATIDI was created with the assistance of the World Bank And the idea behind TD was actually to create an investment risk mitigation mechanism to support investors wanting to invest in Africa at a time when Africa only attracted around $17 billion, which was quite low at the time. So in summary, TD is basically an institution that provides risk mitigation solutions, notably against credit and political risk. And we do this by providing confidence to investors that when they invest in Africa, they will preserve their capital in case of any unforeseen events. Now, 25 years down the line, what are our achievements? I can name a few. First of all, we've grown into the top development insurer in Africa. We currently have 24 member states. A number of them, half of them are actually COMESA member states. We also have 13 institutional investors across Africa, Europe, Asia, as well as America. In terms of tangible impact, as my neighbor mentioned, I'd say that TD to date has facilitated around $88 billion in investments across Africa, and this is in all types of sectors, whether in agriculture, transport, the finance sector, or even telecommunications. In the COMESA region specifically, we've supported over $38 billion of investments, and this is through 1,200 transactions across COMESA member states. If I can give some flagship projects which actually show what we've been doing. Recently, we've supported the Bugesera Airport in Rwanda. So in most of these projects, TD is not seen because we sit behind the financiers. By giving them the insurance, the support they need, we allow them to actually provide the necessary financing for these projects. So in the Bugesera case, we've provided cover to the financiers. And as you know, the Bugesera Airport was a flagship project for Rwanda and is aimed at positioning Rwanda as a major transport hub in the region and beyond. We've also supported a number of power projects. So for example, in Burundi, we've supported the buildup of Burundi's power generation through two hydroelectric projects feeding over 62 gigawatts of clean energy to the grid annually. Earlier in time, in 2016, we also supported Ethiopian Airlines by financing its fleet. And as you know, Ethiopian Airlines is now a key transport company in the COMESA region and also beyond. So I would say those are the main achievements for TD. For the future, of course, we will continue accomplishing our mandate, and that is our commitment to the COMESA region. We also aim to grow our footprint in the COMESA region. As I mentioned earlier, we call on all COMESA countries to join us so that we can accomplish our mandate in those countries. We'll continue maintaining excellence in our products and services. And also we will continue acknowledging the risk in Africa while also identifying the solutions for our regions. It's also important to note that there is risk in Africa, but there are also opportunities. If you look at the figures, moderator and participants, in 2019, the continent offered a 6.5 rate of return on foreign direct investment, and this compares to the 6% that investors received in other regions of the world, namely in Latin America and the Caribbean. We will also continue leveraging on our assets. One of those assets is our preferred creditor status. This is linked to our close relationship with our governments, which allows member states to recognize us and our development mandate, and therefore to grant a TD priority when it comes to claims resolution. Finally, the most important point is collaboration. So we would like to insist on the importance of continue collaborating with our sister institutions and beyond. We have a very close relationship with the COMESA Secretariat that is an investor in the TD as well as other COMESA institutions. We also work closely with other development partners across the region and internationally, namely the African Development Bank, the African Union, as well as KfW, EIB, etc. So that is our contribution, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ATD is one of COMESA's oldest institutions and remain very critical and relevant given the socio-political situation of our region. So thank you very much. Next, we go to the next panelist. Zephyr, want to introduce yourself and then just highlight to us some of the achievements that you have made and your priorities into the future.
Okay, good evening. My name is Benjamin Kamanga. I'm an executive director at ZEPRI. ZEPRI is PTA Reinsurance Company, and it's what you are now calling COMESA Re. And as I do that, I want to say I'm speaking on behalf of my CEO, Madam Hope Morera. My strong regards to the secretariat team, as well as the past Secretary Generals of COMESA, who have played a significant role in bringing ZEPRI to where it is. So just allow me, moderator, to introduce ZEPRI, because not everyone who knows who ZEPRI is. So ZEPRI journey started somewhere in Swaziland, Babane, in 1990, when the establishment agreement was signed by the heads of states or governments. And we started writing business in 1993, and ZEPRI is headquartered in Nairobi. We have offices across most of the major COMESA region, but write business across Africa. Africa is our business, as they say these days. ZEPRI is a specialized COMESA institution, so that's our mother. We are publicly owned, and I explained what that we mean by publicly owned. When ZEPRI was set up, the government or the member states put capital into ZEPRI or requested their national insurance and reinsurance companies to invest in ZEPRI. So that state has remained that way. Along the way, African DFIs, FDB, TDB came on board. So we are publicly owned, but we serve majorly private sector. And our job or our mandate is to develop insurance and reinsurance in the region. And of course, we come to that, how we think we have done that. So initially, when we were set up, our regional mandate focused in giving capacity to the insurance companies. For those who don't understand how reinsurance works, our business is providing capital to insurance companies so that insurance companies can underwrite business, can support the traders, can support the logistic companies you heard about, then can support manufacturing, can support all investors in the region. So our clients are insurance companies. So our very first core mandate was to give capacity, meaning putting our balance sheet behind the insurance companies to enable them write business. The second mandate, and you can imagine in 1990, reinsurance is still a complex matter, even up to now. There are very few people who understand what reinsurance is about. So second mandate was to train the professionals in the region, and that we can say we have done very well. We possibly have the leading reinsurance academy in Africa, with training people even outside Africa. And since then, we are now about 32 years old, so we have serious responsibility and contribution to the region. We are proud. We have an investment grade rating, the second highest rating for our insurance company in Africa, after Africa Re, and we are proud that we have honored the commitment of our forefathers that we can be able, out of this part of the world, have an investment grade reinsurance company. It is a major milestone. The other thing we have done, and which was one of our mandate, was managing pools, and earlier in the day you had events and concurrence events. I think you represented COMESA very well, COMESA Yellow Card. We managed that pool. We also managed the Regional Custom Transit Guarantee Bond. That is also a pool managed by ZEPRI. And in the works now, we launched early this year an Africa's Nature's Pool, which basically will support reinsuring the natural risks like, the human-wildlife conflict and all that in that space. I think we in that scenario, we are also doing a very good job. So out of those years, majority of our business comes from the COMESA region. We think we have, COMESA region is adequately covered. We are covering a lot in West Africa. We are scaling up whether it will be RSTG or COMESA Yellow Card to the rest of Africa. It's a good brand, it's well recognized, and we have done a good job in terms of that. The other thing we have done several years down the road, I think 2018, we came back to COMESA and sought an additional mandate of financial inclusion. So you see, if you look at data, it indicates that insurance penetration in Africa is very low. On average, most countries below 3%. Put the other way around, it means that what we call protection gap is very large. In other words, we say if there is a disaster which occurs, we have huge economic losses, but there is very little insured losses. If there is floods in this part of the world, very few insurance companies will pay claims, but very many families will be, the livelihood will be disrupted. Now, obviously, that is what we call protection gap. And so ZEPRI recognizing that, we took a bold step to, in addition doing no more insurance, to move to a field we call financial inclusion. And financial inclusion is a way of saying, how do we make sure that majority of our people are adequately protected? And we focused, and what's the reason why they are not protected? The biggest portion of our economy is in SME. SMEs, what we call mama boga in this part of the world, are not structured or do not render themselves well to be insured by the traditional insurance companies. They don't keep books, they don't do very many other things. So we said, how can we work hard to protect SME? And that is a journey we have been on. We looked at the other big deal, which is agriculture. Again, I saw statistics in your initial paperwork here, how many people it employs across COMESA, how many people, what's the contribution in GDP? And that, again, was not adequately covered by the traditional insurance. And the reason why? Because agriculture in Africa, as opposed to other regions, is by smallholder farmers. And it's very risky to cover that group unless you come up with a new ways of doing it. So that's what we call agriculture, and that we are focused on that area. And because of that, we invested in a climate risk adaptation company we call ECA Africa. They are represented in the tents. You can see them. And what do? They bring technology to be able to de-risk agriculture and agriculture insurance. And that way then we can be able to cover farmers. And because of that, technology, 2022, 2021, we were appointed by the regional countries of the Horn of Africa. There is what we call Horn of Africa initiatives to provide cover for the Horn of Africa region for what we call pastoral economy. The project is called De-risking, Inclusion and Value Enhancement of Pastoral Economies. And what have we done with that? Using technology, we are able to give cover for drought, which we could not be able to do without technology. And again, because we are using technology, we are then able to be able to buy, the pastoralists are able to buy cover wherever they are, and when there is a claim, we are able to pay them directly. We are proud about that. It's a World Bank funded project, and we were happy that on behalf of the member states, we were able to bring our skill to de-risk our farmers. The list can continue, but for the sake of time, let me stop there.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a clap. Yeah, I was a bit generous because I know trade and investment and involves a lot of risks, and so it's important that you explore, and share some of those products that you have. Last but not least, we have CCC. Kindly also just introduce yourself and what you do in your organization, in highlighting your achievements that you've made and the priorities that you have for the future.
Thank you very much. I'm Boniface Makongo, Director of Competition at the COMESA Competition Commission, and I'm representing my CEO, Dr. Willard Mwemba. I think the first thing I should do is, it's likely that there are very many people who don't know exactly what COMESA Competition does, or in a broad sense, what the role of a competition agency is. So regulation of competition essentially is there in the context of a liberalized market. You are aware that many of our African countries started off at independence as some kind of command economy, where the government played a very important role in determining especially the prices of basic commodities. And then somewhere along the way, we realized that in order to hasten development, there was need to open up to investment and for the government to free up the economy to the private sector. So to ensure that you don't have a scenario where the private entities lock up sectors, either through collusion or you have cartels and other anti-competitive practices that negatively impact the ability of other players to enter into a market or force players out through things like predatory pricing, it's important to have a competition agency. So in many jurisdictions, you would have a competition agency both at national level, whose jurisdiction is basically the national aspects of competition. And in the context of COMESA, which is a common market, whose objective is free and liberalized trade, you need to also have a competition agency at that level to ensure that the players in the common market play by the rules. Otherwise, then you may end up not being able to realize the objectives of free and liberalized trade. So that's why we exist. And just to also note that globally, other than the EU, we are the second other competition agency that has succeeded in enforcing competition law on a regional scale. Now, to also inform you is that one of the roles that we have as a competition agency is to ensure that as much as possible, all countries in the common market also have competition agencies, because it becomes very difficult to only enforce competition at regional level if there is no other agency doing it at national level. And coming to the first major achievement of the COMESA Competition Commission is that currently, out of the 21 member states of COMESA, 19 either have a functional competition agency, which is enforcing competition, or they have a law which is in the process of being implemented to establish a competition agency, or are in the process of enacting a law. So that, from our perspective, is significant progress. Also, we also want to avoid a scenario where you have too many, layers of enforcement of competition, because that beats the purpose. That is not the intention of having competition regulation. So it is normally important to have clarity to ensure that if you're a business, you're either being investigated at regional level because your transaction meets the regional dimension, or at national level. We don't want to have, you are a business and you have all sorts of, investigations going on at the same time. So one of the things we work very hard to ensure is to ensure that there's no duplication of that nature by having a one-stop shop. So it's very clear which matters fall within the ambit of the regional, which is the COMESA Competition Commission, and which matters fall within the national agencies, even those that are coming up. Equally, it's important to appreciate how then what the competition agency looks at. And largely, we look at two aspects in enforcement of competition. One is market structure. And market structure essentially is straightforward, is basically how many entities are in a particular sector offering goods or services. So how we regulate market structure is to ensure that in the context of a national competition agency, if there's a merger which meets a certain threshold, i.e. it's likely to raise competition concerns based on market shares and other considerations, it is approved by the national agency. And if it has a cross-border perspective, it's approved by ourselves. We tend to want to avoid small transactions involving SMEs which have no competition effect. So we would not be looking at those. We are looking at significant transactions where you're acquiring or you're taking over a farm, because ultimately we want to avoid some monopolistic scenarios forming in various sectors of the economy. The other aspect that we look at is market conduct. So market conduct is you investigate and sanction if there are instances where there's a cartel in an economy, or where you have dominant firms that abuse their dominance. But this has to be in the context for the regional competition agency of those that have cross-border effect. With regard to mergers, we have done a commendable job because since inception, we have handled 487 mergers to date. And in the last 3 years, we handled 124. So we've seen a marked increase in the number of mergers that we handle. And this is partly because more and more businesses are aware about the work that we do and the need to comply. An important perspective to bring out is that in the context of the mergers that we've handled in the last 3 years, for instance, the 124 I talked about, the firms that are involved generated a turnover of $110 billion in the common market. So that is quite significant from an investment perspective. And these are in various sectors, including aviation, mining, banking, insurance, agriculture, among other sectors that we have. As a commission, we have also undertaken investigation in enforcement. And by enforcement, I mean where we investigate and sanction entities that engage in anti-competitive business practices. And in this area, we have been very successful in sanctioning entities, for instance, that are in the alcoholic beverages sector, where we have been investigating anti-competitive businesses. Lastly, with regard to the investigations that we do, we also have a consumer welfare mandate. And in that regard, we have also undertaken investigations in aviation sector. You are aware that there is a tendency, especially in our region, largely maybe because we are not as developed as other regions, for there to be differential treatment of consumer issues, especially in the aviation sector. So you'll find an airline treats people in the common market in a very differential manner. Consumer rights are not taken very seriously because there is no fear of any consequences. So we've done quite a number of cases in that regard. in our consumer protection mandate. And we have also investigated some cases in the digital space. One of the key ones involved Uber, where previously there are terms and conditions provided for if you wanted to challenge any contravention, you had to file suit in the Netherlands. We compelled them to change their law so that the applicable law is national law, and it makes it easier if you're a consumer in Kenya to go to a Kenyan court as opposed to having to file suit in, say, the Netherlands, which many of us, I'm sure, have never even gone to. Equally, to support what I said about member states coming up and establishing competition agencies, we do undertake significant technical assistance, and as a result, quite a number of member states have enacted legislation. They have established agencies. We have capacity built them in terms of ensuring that they have the requisite skills and knowledge to enforce competition. I think I'd like to stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Director, for that. Yeah. I can see the moderator is quite uncomfortable. I thought we have saved some time, even for 1 or 2 questions to the panelists.
We cannot take questions. Maybe your closing remarks just for 1 minute, and then we can close.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, I want to thank the panelists for having ably shared their achievements and aspirations. We all agree that COMESA institutions have very rich menus and products, and which we can use as a region to boost inter-trade and investment, and also support the COMESA vision of ensuring or using integration for sustainable growth and development. So I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank the audience for your perseverance. I know the sugar levels are down, but just to assure you that the audience, particularly that all the COMESA institutions will be attending this forum up to the end. So if you have any burning questions, you can always reach out to them to respond to them. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A round of applause. Thank you very much. Panelists, could you kindly stand for a photo session as we close this panel? Of course, it is not easy to summarize 30 years of impact of COMESA in just 45 minutes. So thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. We have come to the end of the panels this day, but we would like to get a few words from the partners and sponsors that made this event possible. And first, we'd like to invite Dr. Joy Kategekwa, who is the Director of Africa Development Bank. If she's in the room? Yes, there she is running. Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes on stage.